you are currently set up on a speaker and a pile of books because I left my tripod at work. And you're wobbling. I turned the image stabilizer off on the lens, but maybe I'm gonna turn it back on. I'm gonna turn you on. We'll see if that kind of gets rid of some of the jiggles. So I'm back today with another street photography video. Yes, it's been a while, but we're not gonna dwell on that, okay? I asked you to choose between the RF 85mm f2 and the RF 50mm 1.8. Both pretty inexpensive lenses for the RF system, and by inexpensive I mean they're not like 2,400, which is what some of the 1.2 lenses are. So I thought it would be good to kind of put those on the stories and show you what they're like in a street setting. And also I don't own the more expensive lenses, so there is that as well. And by far the most people voted for 50mm, which I was quite surprised at because I know a lot of people that follow me on Instagram and on YouTube really love the 85mm focal length, but maybe they want to see something different and that's why they vote for 50mm. So for today's video, we're going to take out the R6 and the 50mm 1.8. which is this setup here. Still focusing on my eyes. Here we go. Is it there? I'm shooting in 1.8, so I've kind of shot myself in the foot with this very shallow depth of field, but it does look great. So for today's video, I'll be shooting on the R6 and the 50mm 1.8, the RF version, and it's just such a discreet little small setup for street photography. It's so light, it's portable, it's kind of everything that you want when you're out on the street shooting. So I'm excited to use it. It's currently very hot in the UK. We usually have kind of average temperatures of like 18, 20 on a good day, and we're currently experiencing like 38-degree heat. So this is gonna be fun. I'm not exactly built for the heat. So yeah, I'm getting out there and it's gonna be fun. God, it feels good to be recording a voiceover. I decided to kind of go all out for this one and set up my crane arm, put the microphone on it and kind of do like a more professional setup, kind of what I used to do in the early voiceover days. It makes no difference to you listening, but for me it makes me feel more put together, more professional, and I'm more comfortable because I'm not just sat on a sofa holding a microphone. So I'm at my desk and I'm just feeling a bit professional. I feel like I'm on a podcast, on a radio station, and I'm ready to go. So while I'm warming up my shots here, kind of limbering up the photography muscles, I thought I'd start with talking to you about my focusing modes. I often forget to mention what my autofocusing modes are. For one, I use autofocus for street photography. I find that it's just easiest. It's a lot easier than manually focusing everything. I mean, we have very capable cameras and very capable lenses that offer us autofocus, so why not utilize them and make our lives easier so we don't miss any important moments. So first of all, I use autofocus. I use Servo Autofocus. So if you're not a Canon user, that is going to be called AFC on your camera. Basically that's continuous autofocus. It's best for tracking moving subjects, so people, cars, bikes, basically all the things you want for street photography. I found that that is by far the best kind of autofocus setting for street photography. In regards to focusing modes, I switch between two, particularly on this outing, but generally on all photography outings for me. So I switch between expand AF around setting and face and eye tracking. So the expand AF around is what I use when I'm just capturing most of my photos. It's basically that square box that you'll see in the middle of the screen. I can move the box around the focusing points with my joystick, which you'll see me doing a lot, and it means I can tell my camera where I want it to focus. It gives me really good control. I switch to eye tracking, where I'm kind of close to a subject, where I'm shooting from the hip, where I know that I can rely on the R6 to do what it does best, to lock on that face and get that subject in perfect focus. So yep, that is my focusing modes. Sorry if that took a long time, but I always get these questions in the comments, so I thought it would be worth telling you what my settings are whilst I warm up on this outing. So I also shoot fully manual in all my settings. I don't do aperture priority or anything like that. Fully manual, I like to have full control over all of my settings. It was such a bright day. As I mentioned earlier, it's the hottest day of the year, middle of a heat wave, so you'll see that I'm using very high shutter speeds throughout, keeping that ISO really low. I don't want to introduce a lot of noise, and obviously keeping that aperture quite low because I quite like to have my bokeh and my blurry background, as lots of street photographers do. You know, I do kind of push it to 4, I think I may go higher, 5.6 in some places or something like that. But you know, I'm always compensating in other places, but generally my number one rule for my street photography is keep that ISO super low. There wasn't as many people out on the street as I thought there was going to be. I think most people were keeping safe and staying out of the hot weather like I should have been, but I was only out there for about 40 minutes because that was literally all I could take. So I was by this Roy shop and I noticed that, you know, it's very red. How could you not? So I wanted to kind of stay put there and wait for a colour match because I knew that there would definitely be one. I was probably only waiting for about 3 minutes, not very long at all, before somebody came along wearing red, a red dress as well, which is even more of a bonus. So I kind of stationed myself and just waited for them to walk across. Made sure that my focusing point was in a good place where I wanted it, and just kind of snapped away. And I think they came out okay. I think the colour match was nice. There's like before and afters there for you, so you can see my edit and see how kind of extreme it is. But yeah, I think they came out quite well. I was quite happy with them. For this next photo, I was kind of liking how this kind of structure in front of me was casting like a shadow below it. I decided to take a photo and really go in on the editing, add that grain, lift the blacks, the shadows, and really make it look like it was taken on a film camera. That's the only one I kind of did that to. I don't know why I wanted to, what possessed me to do it, but I think it was fun to play around with. So these shots coming up are some of my favourite ones in this whole outing, and possibly all of my outings. I love this person here, just in their hats, very classic. I had to edit it black and white just to see how they looked. I love that they kind of give me that eye contact to the camera. It just feels very classic to me. I like that I wasn't shooting too wide open. I wasn't shooting at 1.8, so I was shooting at 3.5, so you can see some of the context in the background. It wasn't completely blown out and blurred. It was, you know, you kind of get a feel of the street. Be sure to let me know if you have any favourite images from this outing. Let me know which ones they are, if you have any at all. Let me know if you have been inspired to go out recently to shoot some street photography, where your kind of favourite places to go and shoot are, what your favourite camera is, what your favourite focal length is. I really want to experiment with some more focal lengths, maybe get a 70 to 200, kind of have fun with that. I don't own one, but I have a friend who has one and they've already said that they would let me borrow it. So for the next few photos, I had the idea of kind of parking myself up round a corner, kind of turning on eye and face detect and kind of getting people as they walk by. Not in an intrusive way. I'm not going to stand right on the corner, kind of back up a little bit because it's not really my style of street photography to be right in people's faces. My aim is to be, you know, non-interruptive and capture people in there every day. So I'm so happy I came back because I got this great photo here. This person looking straight at me, a little rainbow in the bottom right as well, which is great. So I got these two photos and I just really love them. I composed it so the wall was kind of cutting straight down the middle of the frame, and then the person would be framed to the left of the frame, kind of like a thirds type composition. But I also just really liked how the brick wall looked, kind of almost as a subject itself. As I was walking down the street, I kind of saw this scene at the bottom of an alley. The light was hitting kind of the bottom of the alley in a really nice way. So I decided to just snap a few photos, decided to shoot through these kind of bars here just to add a little bit of layering, a bit of interest. Kind of like how they came out, very simple. For the next few photos, I kind of just want to chuck them up because I'm having some issues here. You can see this kind of like flaring. This circular flaring on these ones. Now I had this on a previous RF 50mm 1.8 and I took it to the camera shop and they just replaced the lens for me because they assumed it was a lens issue. it is now happening on this lens. So I'm asking, is it a sensor issue? Because it only happens when I'm kind of shooting straight into the sun. Does my sensor need a clean? Or is it just an issue that these RF 50mm 1.8s tend to have? So if you have the answer, please let me know, because I have no idea. So I'm heading away from Anglo Square now, kind of in a prettier part of the city. I see this man and their dog kind of walking through the centre, and just a very typical British image, I feel. Just a person walking down the street, no top, in the heat, with their dog. I didn't really agree with them having their dog. It made me quite sad. It's such a hot day, it looked really hot. Here's a little pier over the river. I did that purely for you. I literally lifted the camera up to give you a little view of our fine city. So I couldn't really resist bringing you to Elm Hill as I'm in this part of the city. This street is famous, basically, not only in Norwich, but kind of around the world now. It's been in a few Netflix series, in a few films. It's just this beautiful cobbled street with these old fashioned styled buildings. I don't know what era, Tudor, maybe sooner. I'm gonna sound so stupid because it's probably so wrong. It was so quiet. It's usually filled with kind of tours of the city, kind of camera walks and stuff like that, but it was so quiet today, I just couldn't resist going and getting a few photos. Not really street photography as such. There are some people that come into the frames, and I do get some photos of them. But yeah, I just couldn't resist kind of coming down here and utilising this beautiful day in the city, utilising this beautiful street that's just on our doorstep, and kind of just getting what I could. I also filmed a reel of this day. I'm trying to get onto that reel hype finally, as Instagram, as we all know, seems to be going in the direction of video content. So let's get on board, I guess. But I do really hope that they do start to prioritise photos again, because let's face it, that's what made Instagram what it was. So if you're new to the channel and this is the first video that you're watching, I do usually go through a lot more of my process, my thoughts, when I'm out taking street photography POVs. So if you are looking to kind of get more of an insight to the process, definitely go and watch some more of my other videos. It's just been such a long time since filming them. I've kind of just wanted to chat to you about a few things. This has been a bit more chatty than usual in regards to things not about street photography necessarily, but it's nice to have a little bit of a mixture. A shot that I really wanted to get is kind of looking down the whole of Elm Hill from kind of at the top. So I kind of stood here and got that. There is somebody starting to walk up now, so there is a little bit of a subject in there. So it's kind of coming into the realms of street photography. But I don't know what your opinion on that is. Is it still regarded street photography if there isn't always a person in it? I know there's been a few debates on the matter. I personally think if you're out on the street and you're capturing things, it's street photography. It does just feel like you're on a movie set when you're walking down here. Just either side of you is just such beautiful architecture, and every building is just so individual and so unique. So I saw these people coming up walking on my right. I saw that the person had very bright, striking trousers, and I love it when people are wearing bright colours. So I kind of stood here, got that spot focusing on so I could control it and tell it where to go. I didn't want to miss focus, and kind of moved along with them, waited to get them against this kind of fairly plain wall, and yeah, the photos and the trousers just pop. And I thought that that would be a great photo to end it on, as it was one of my favourites from the outing. So yeah, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button if you enjoyed it, or if you learned something, or if you just want to support the channel in general. I would really appreciate that. And I will be back soon with another video. Bye!